So close your eyes, take a deep breath. And for everyone, allow yourself to be aware of any sense of grief that you might be carrying. It might be a grief about a particular loss of a person, maybe recently or in the past. It may be grief about what you've lost over the past year. And allow yourself to be aware, because for some of you, it may not feel like grief. You may be aware of, well, I'm not feeling grief right now, but I feel sadness, or I feel anger, or I feel shame, or worry, fear, whatever might be there. Just allow yourself to be aware of whatever uncomfortable feelings you might have, anything that limits you from feeling, if we were to say on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 feeling magnificent, whatever stops you from feeling it at 10 right now. And so I'll talk about grief, but allow yourself to insert whatever might be stopping you from being at a 10. Take a deep breath. Let it go. And let's do some tapping. Even though I feel this grief,
even though I feel this grief,
I choose to love and accept myself.
I choose to love and accept myself.
Even though I feel this grief,
even though I feel this grief,
I choose to love and honor myself.
I choose to love and honor myself.
Even though I feel this grief,
even though I feel this grief,
this pain of loss,
this pain of loss,
because I've lost some things.
Because I've lost some things.
I've lost some people.
I've lost some people.
There might be all kinds of things I'm grieving.
There might be all kinds of things I'm grieving.
And it really limits my well-being.
And it really limits my well-being.
And even though I feel this grief,
and even though I feel this grief,
I choose to deeply and completely,
I choose to deeply and completely
love, honor, and accept myself.
Love, honor, and accept myself.
And maybe anyone else involved.
And maybe anyone else involved.
All this grief.
All this grief.
All this grief.
All this grief.
All this sense of loss.
All this sense of loss.
All this pain of loss.
All this pain of loss.
All this pain.
All this pain.
All this pain of grieving.
All this pain of grieving.
Because of things that I've lost.
Because the things that I've lost.
All these things that are missing.
All these things that are missing.
I may be grieving things that I used to have.
I may be grieving things that I used to have.
People that I used to have.
People that I used to have.
Pets that I used to have.
Pets that I used to have.
People or things that were a source of comfort.
People or things that were a source of comfort.
That I no longer have.
That I no longer have.
I may be grieving lost opportunities.
I may be grieving lost opportunities.
Things that I wish I could have done.
Things that I wish I could have done.
Or things that I've done in the past.
Or things that I've done in the past.
That I haven't been able to do.
That I haven't been able to do.
All this grief.
All this grief.
And I love and honor myself.
And I love and honor myself.
As I process my feelings.
As I process my feelings.
This is a totally human response.
This is a totally human response.
And I am honoring my grief.
And I am honoring my grief.
And at the same time.
And at the same time.
I'm allowing myself to move through it.
I'm allowing myself to move through it.
As quickly as I can allow myself to.
As quickly as I can allow myself to.
I'm allowing myself to get whatever I need from it.
I'm allowing myself to get whatever I need from it.
And allowing myself to feel as good as possible.
And allowing myself to feel as good as possible.
When that feels appropriate.
When that feels appropriate.
Part of me says.
Part of me says.
I need to feel this grief.
I need to feel this grief.
Part of that is a natural process.
Part of that is a natural process.
And for a lot of us.
And for a lot of us.
Some of us fabricate some grief.
Some of us fabricate some grief.
We create more than we actually need.
Create more than we actually need.
Because it feels like our duty.
Because it feels like our duty.
We have all these old messages.
We have all these old messages.
About how much grief we should feel.
About how much grief we should feel.
And maybe people are telling us.
And maybe people are telling us.
You should be grieving more.
We should be grieving more.
Because that's how I show that I care.
Because that's how I show that I care.
If I'm not grieving enough.
If I'm not grieving enough.
People will say I just didn't care.
People will say I just didn't care.
So I'm giving myself permission.
So I'm giving myself permission.
To let go of this need to impress other people.
To let go of this need to impress other people.
With how much I show my care.
with how much I show my care
by suffering.
by suffering.
And I'm processing this,
And I'm processing this,
giving myself permission to heal,
giving myself permission to heal,
because I have a right to heal.
because I have a right to heal.
I have a right to grieve.
I have a right to grieve.
I also have a right to feel peace.
I also have a right to feel peace.
And I'm giving myself permission
And I'm giving myself permission
to process these feelings,
to process these feelings,
allowing myself to see
allowing myself to see
that even when I have lost things and people,
that even when I have lost things and people,
there's still a lot of blessings in my life.
there's still a lot of blessings in my life.
There are a lot of things to feel good about.
There are a lot of things to feel good about.
That doesn't mean I dismiss what I lost.
That doesn't mean I dismiss what I lost.
I acknowledge and honor my feelings,
I acknowledge and honor my feelings,
and I'm processing them
and I'm processing them
so that I can be aware
so that I can be aware
of how much good is still here for me,
of how much good is still here for me,
and how many awesome people are still here for me.
and how many awesome people are still here for me.
All these things that help feed the light that I am,
All these things that help feed the light that I am
so that I can shine more brightly.
so that I can shine more brightly.
And I can acknowledge
And I can acknowledge
that going through the grieving process
that going through the grieving process
can teach me how to shine more brightly.
can teach me how to shine more brightly.
It's all good.
It's all good.
And I'm loving myself in the process,
And I am loving myself in the process
because I'm worthy and deserving of loving myself.
because I'm worthy and deserving of loving myself.
And I'm clearing any doubts about that,
And I'm clearing any doubts about that,
clearing those at a cellular level,
clearing those at a cellular level,
clearing those all the way back through my past,
clearing those all the way back through my past,
back through any time in my life
back through any time in my life
that I somehow got the message
that I somehow got the message
that maybe I wasn't so worthy of love.
that maybe I wasn't so worthy of love.
That was totally a misunderstanding.
That was totally misunderstanding.
I am so absolutely worthy of love.
I am so absolutely worthy of love.
And it starts with me giving it to myself.
And it starts with me giving it to myself.
And I'm loving myself in this process
And I'm loving myself in this process
as I deal with the feelings that I have.
as I deal with the feelings that I have.
And I try to make sense of my world
And I try to make sense of my world
and what I have
and what I have
and what I've lost
and what I've lost
and what's still coming.
and what's still coming.
And I'm allowing myself to be excited about that
And I'm allowing myself to be excited about that
as I allow myself to love myself even more
as I allow myself to love myself even more.
in body, mind, and spirit.
Body, mind, and spirit.
And take a deep breath. Go ahead and close your eyes and get in touch with whatever grief is there or whatever else it might have been, and rate it again on a scale of 0 to 10, and just see if it's shifting. For some, it may go way down, and for others, it may just be a process of getting more clear about, oh, here's what's going on behind that, and give you information to help you move forward.